Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andre Siggers, and this time we're joined by Ash Paulson to discuss our thoughts on Super Smash Bros. 3DS. So let's get started. Alright Ash, so, my review went up a few days ago, and we've both been playing the game a ton, including against each other. And, I think we both thought it'd be kind of fun to just discuss our thoughts on the game, see, where we agree and where we might disagree, and just talk about our overall experience with the game. So everyone already knows my opinion, I'm guessing. So let's start off with your thoughts on the game.
I think we're mostly pretty similar. I think it's a really good handheld iteration of Smash Brothers. I think mechanically it's about, or control-wise, I should say, I think it's about the best it could be given the 3DS's, physical build. I mean, the 3DS is not built for Smash Brothers, so it's hard to hold that against Smash Brothers. So I think they did a pretty good job with the controls, all things considered. But definitely, at the end of the day, it's not the ideal way to play Smash Brothers. The ideal way for most people, including us, is with a GameCube controller. So if I could, I would plug a GameCube controller into my 3DS and play it that way. But given that I can't do that, I think it plays very well given the limitations of the 3DS hardware.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think I even say in the review, or maybe I don't, I can't remember if I put it in there, but it does control probably as best as it possibly could on a 3DS. But the problem is, like, for me, like, that caps out pretty low. Like, that's a low threshold.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, it is not, for me, it wasn't the ideal way of playing Smash. In fact, we played against each other a couple weeks apart. Or rather, like a week apart in two different instances. And the first time, like, I think you adjusted the controls far faster than I did.
Yeah.
You were wailing on me that first week.
That's true.
But then the second week, I actually was more adapted to them, and was able to hold my own against you that time. So
yeah, and we had a couple of runs where you just absolutely obliterated me too. Yeah. So it was definitely a lot more equal the second time around.
It is, yeah. So I think I mean, a part of it is there is a learning curve to this game. Especially if you played, if you've been playing Smash for 15 years or whatever since it came out, there is an adjustment period, and you can adjust. Yeah, it's just it's still just not the ideal way to play, because I think we went back and played Brawl after one of our 3DS matches, and it just felt to me like it's like I was home. It's like this is how this game was meant to play.
No, yeah, I definitely agree, and I think the Wii U version is going to feel like that, but even cooler because it's a completely new game and high definition visuals and a still a new character roster, even if it is the same one shared with the 3DS.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, if anything, as I say in the review, I'm really looking forward to the Wii U one now because they have a really solid base here. It's just being held back by the 3DS itself. But putting that aside, there's still it still plays well. And there is a lot to like about the 3DS one, including the roster. I mean, I really, the roster for me is, I mean, it's without question, like, I don't think anyone can disagree that this isn't the best roster yet.
Oh, Ridley fans would disagree. But no, obviously, I completely agree with you. There's no question that this roster is by far the best roster Smash Brothers has ever had. And that's a tall order. I mean, Brawl had a great roster, too.
It did.
And really, I'm just I'm just incredibly impressed by the amount of content that's in this game. Like the fact that Sakurai and his team were able to get this game running looking as good as it does and running as well as it does at a constant 60 frames per second, mostly, with all the content that it has. It's just, from a technical standpoint, it's really impressive. Controls aside, mechanically, this new Smash Brothers is everything I wanted. Pretty much exactly what I wanted. It's more like Brawl than Melee, but it's not exactly like Brawl. It's faster than Brawl, and it's more combo-friendly than Brawl. And I think it's definitely a little more offensively based than Brawl. And I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with that, and because this game's being called defensive already. But I do think it's at least less defensive than Brawl was, and I think it kind of takes the best of both worlds. I mean, I know both of us really didn't want Melee 2.
Right.
I know a lot of people did, but we're not among that crowd. But it's definitely not Melee 2, but it's not really Brawl 2 either. It's definitely kind of its own thing, and I really like the way it turned out mechanically.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way it turned out mechanically, too. I would actually still stick to what I've said earlier, where, to me, it actually does feel very similar to Brawl.
Okay.
With some notable tweaks. like the ledge grabbing mechanic is far different now, and that will have big implications for how the game is played. But putting that aside, the game to me still feels very similar to Brawl. The biggest distinctions for me, besides the ledge grabbing, was just some of the tweaks it made to the characters. Like with Link having his new dash attack now, which to me feels completely different, and really ends up that and a few other tweaks it made to him really make the character feel quite a bit different, actually. Well, not that different, but compared to how he's been in past games, he does feel fairly different.
No, definitely. I 100% believe Sakurai when he says that they recreated every character, even the veterans, from scratch. These characters don't feel like they were lifted straight from Brawl. The veterans all, even if they do feel similar, there's a certain, it's kind of a je ne sais quoi quality where it's hard to kind of pinpoint, but they do feel different, like they were built from the ground up again. Yeah,
well, speaking of which, do you have a favorite character returning from Brawl you've been playing as? Or?
Oh, totally. Well, Kirby was my Brawl veteran, so he's still my favorite to play in 3DS in terms of the veterans. And yeah, he plays like a buffed up version of his Brawl form, which is fine with me because he was pretty vicious in Brawl too. And some of the things I used to do with him aren't quite as viable anymore. Like I used to do a short hop into Hammer to kind of catch people by surprise, and because Kirby jumps higher even in his short hops than he used to, and the hammer kind of comes out differently, it's not quite as viable as it used to be. But a lot of the same tricks I use with Kirby and Brawl still work here. He's still really fun to play, and he's strong. And I played Toon Link a lot in Brawl, and Mario as well, and they both feel great. Mario especially has been improved a lot. Like his combo game has been just completely overhauled, and he feels better to play than he has in a long time.
Yeah, I need to play with him more, because I've always liked playing as Mario. I just haven't had much chance to in this new one. Because I've been focusing a lot on the new characters.
Right.
Well, speaking of like updated characters, like Game & Watch, I used to in Brawl, grab someone, throw them into the ground, then I would follow up with his hammer attack, his down smash, because his down throw didn't throw them far at all, and you had enough time, you could just whip that out and get basically 2 attacks in for 1. And you can't really do that anymore, because now it actually sends them flying a lot higher. Like they bounce off the ground and fly into the air. So yeah, it's interesting that the small tweaks they made to a lot of these characters that, to a casual gamer or to a really casual Smash fan, they wouldn't notice at all. But to people who've been playing as these characters for a long time, it actually will change how you play them. Some of these characters quite a bit.
Yeah, and so will the controls. The fact of the matter is the controls simply aren't as comfortable and responsive as you're used to in the GameCube controller. So you have to make a few, changes to allow for that. And of course, when the Wii U version comes out, you're not going to have to worry about that. But playing this game on the 3DS, you do have to kind of vary up your strategy a bit, because you just can't quite pull off the same things that you might be used to pulling off with a GameCube controller.
Well, yeah, like the fact that there's no C-stick now, at least currently on the 3DS. Which I adjusted to, and that's how the original Smash Brothers played. There was no C-stick then,
right?
But I have come to like the C-stick, and there are some techniques you can use with it that you simply can't do as fast without it. So,
yeah, that's true. I've never been a C-sticker myself, so I haven't really missed that as much as I know you and some other people have. But I do, because of the limitations of the circle pad, I am kind of finding myself wishing that I could just set the D-pad to C-stick.
That's why I don't understand. Why is that not an option?
Yeah, and that kind of goes into my overall. If I have one major problem with Smash 3DS, it's the lack of options, which is really surprising considering that Sakurai is known for just stuffing his games full of just the most minor options.
Right.
The ways to tweak the game as possible. And there is a surprising lack of that in Smash 3DS. You covered this in your review too, but the fact that certain things you used to be able to select, like stamina matches, or coin matches. Well, I guess that's not in this game at all. But stamina matches, for example, you could choose whenever you wanted, or like mushroom matches, or you could basically tweak the matches in any way you wanted. Whereas now, stamina matches and things like that are held back in Smash Run, and you're not even guaranteed to get them. So the Smash Run match, after the end of the 5-minute part, is completely random. So you might get a stamina match, but you can never ever choose that, yourself, and that's weird.
It is weird, yeah. I think we'll both have a lot more to say about Smash Run.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, also too, I mentioned in the review, you can't adjust the item frequency anymore either.
Yeah.
Which baffles me, but I think that's been a part of every Smash Brothers game, at least as far as I can remember.
I think so too.
But in this one, the default frequency is just a little bit too frequent. Like, there are always items on the field. Like, there's always stuff happening. And that, to me, like, shifts the balance a little bit too much from the core gameplay. And if you could just adjust that balance, drop the items down to low, for instance, it would be a lot better. As is, though, like, I'm probably just gonna end up trading them off a lot of the time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, like I was saying, or like you said, I do love items, but they do appear a little too frequently at the default rate for me. And I would turn them to low if I could. And so it sucks because I actually do think that Smash 4 has the best lineup of items the series has yet seen.
It has a really good set, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, they do show up too often, and they do skew the balance too much, just like, some Mario Karts have in the past, where it really is the Mario Kart problem, where you have all these items that they're great to a degree, but when they show up so often, then it just totally kills the balance. And that's not a problem I thought Smash would ever have, because Sakurai has always been so adamant about, including all these options to tweak your game experience. And those simply aren't present in Smash 3DS. And if I had to point to one thing that really sours me on the overall experience, it's that. I still really like the game, but that is, in my opinion, the main problem with it.
Right. Well, while we're on items, what are do you have any favorites you've seen so far, or items you always go after when they appear?
Oh yeah, I love the Boss Galaga item. I
kind of love. It's so evil.
I know, it's so evil, and I love the sound effects. Like, I just love the Namco nostalgia in this in general, thanks to Pac-Man and a couple of the items like the S Flag and the Boss Galaga. But yeah, the Boss Galaga for sure. I like the Bullet Bill. And one item I try to stay the hell away from is the Beetle, because the Beetle and the Gust Bellows are so overpowered. I mean, they're so easy to kill with, and I try to either grab them first or just throw them off the stage because I don't want anyone else getting them.
Yeah, the Beetle's pretty evil. But yeah, the Gust Bellows is definitely powerful. But that's why I kind of like it though, because it's pretty hilarious when you have it yourself. But when you're going up against it, it does kind of suck.
Yeah, no, really, yeah.
That thing is pretty ridiculous. And that's where, yeah, again, having the item frequency, drop would be good. Having that thing just appear, every once in a while could be fun instead of having several of them at once sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for me, I actually really like the, the Gust Bellows I enjoy, and I also really like the Cucko. Because if someone attacks that thing, it just becomes chaotic.
I forgot about that. That is one of my favorite items, and especially in Smash Run too, because I have a tendency to, because you only get 5 minutes, I have a tendency to hit everything I see just to get as many stat ups as possible. But sometimes that's a cucko, and that feeling that you have when you realize you've hit a cucko but you can't take it back
right.
is like the worst feelings. You're like, oh no.
The
next 30 seconds are going to be spent with me just getting pecked to death by cuckos, and I could have stopped it, but I didn't.
Right, exactly. Alright, so let's get to Smash Run, because I think this is something you were actually looking forward to a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I was looking forward to it just because of all the different, all the references to various Nintendo and third-party games with the enemies and things like that. And, I was looking forward to it, and I really liked what I played of it at shows like E3 and Comic-Con and things like that. But then it came out that what Famitsu said about it being online was actually a mistake, a misprint, and that Sakurai confirmed that it's not online. And that really does hurt the mode, in my opinion, because, it has its own issues, to be sure, but Smash Run is not something I see myself playing with local friends that often, because why would we? And we can just play Smash,
right.
Like regular Smash. Well, but online, I could just if I'm in the mood for a game of Smash Run, I can fire it up and play with anyone online who's also in the mood.
Right.
And that seems like a huge limiting factor to me that it's not online. But Smash Run itself, it's weird. It's a compilation of really good ideas that they don't really come together as well as they should.
Yeah.
And the reason why is it kind of comes back to that problem that I mentioned before with this game, that there's a lack of options.
There are no options.
And that there are no options. You've got this 5 minute, the 5 minute part of Smash Run is actually my favorite part, even though it can get a little chaotic at times. The enemies can be kind of cheap and they can really just smack you around a little too much. It still is fun getting power-ups, and, there is that kind of very basic video game quality of getting power-ups and seeing your stats go up, and I love that, and it's fun. But then it's all this build-up for 5 minutes for pretty much nothing. It's a 1 minute random match
at most, basically.
At most. Sometimes they can last longer if you get the run game or the climb game, because those just can last longer in general, I think. But in general, you don't really know what to be prepared for. Even though the game does give you a hint, it's kind of, there's really no way to control what stat boost you get. What you get is pretty random for each enemy you kill.
That is totally the case. Yeah, it's weird, but I wanted to like this mode because I loved City Trial and Kirby Air Ride, which this mode is based on. But this City Trial just did it better because you actually could focus on, what kind of power-ups you wanted to get, because you could see them. It was a 3D environment, so it was easier to get around than a 2D one in which you can't really see that much at a time. And you can also adjust the options in that game too, so you could adjust the time limit up, I think down to 3 minutes or up to 7 minutes. And yeah, while the exploration part of Smash Run is my favorite part, it doesn't end up feeling like it matters, really.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't understand why they didn't allow for more options, like, increasing the time limit, or increasing the time limit of the match afterward, or allowing you to choose from 3 or 4, selections of the kind of match that you want to play at the end. So the people you're playing with, you can all vote on one that kind of satisfies your stat boost for that game, and then, there's still a random element, but at least you had some element of choice.
I think you kind of touched on it there. Like, this to me just feels too random. Like, you start in a random place on the map, you encounter random enemies that drop random power-ups, you come across random doors that give you random rewards, and then then you have the final random challenge, in which case, like, the 1 minute time limit is so short. Like, the results of that are often pretty much just random themselves, too, it feels like. You get lucky with a few extra kills, and you end up winning.
I mean, there's a spot on the challenge board that requires that you that you win Smash Run with every character in the roster, which sounds like a nightmare. Because I'm just because there's so much randomness to it, and it's further encumbered by the fact that even when you're playing with 2 or 1 or 2 or 3 other people, you don't actually affect each other until the match at the end, and even then, sometimes you don't even see each other. So when you're running around on the map, we actually tested this. When you're running around on the big 5-minute map, you can't actually see each other, and you can't affect each other. You can send random effects, to other people, that like in the form of big bullet bills or big bombs or something that can disrupt the other people. But it's random when it happens, and you can't actually fight each other on the map, even if you're right on top of each other on the map.
That's the weirdest thing to me. I was under the impression you would be able to, because you could in Kirby Air Ride. But we had our systems side by side. We were in the exact same area. And did not see each other, and which is too bad, because that's a huge. I mean, Smash Brothers is all about the interaction, and you don't have any of that in that 5-minute match.
Yeah, and then even in the some of the 1-minute matches after, I mean, there's one where you have to defeat more enemies than anyone else, and you're doing it by yourself. You're not. I mean, every person is fighting their own enemies, and you don't interact with one another at all. So it makes me wonder what the point of playing Smash Run with other people even is.
It feels, like I said in the review, it feels like a time trial basically, at least for the first 5 minutes, and sometimes even in the final challenge.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I feel like there is potential there. Like, if they patched it, they could make it better. I don't know if they could make it great, but they could make it a lot better than it is now.
No, they really could.
Add the list by adding options. And the weird thing is, to me, like, getting back to the online thing, I'm pretty baffled why it's not online, because of the fact that you don't have the interaction on the map. It would seem like it'll make it even easier to make that online. You don't have to worry about syncing all that, all the enemies and everything.
Right.
And then you would only have to worry about the final challenge, really.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the whole mode is just kind of baffling to me.
No, it really is. I mean, it really does feel like the beginnings of a great idea, but it doesn't seem like it was fleshed out as much as it needed to be, and that may be due to the pressure of developing 2 titles at once.
Right.
Maybe this mode just didn't get the love that it needed, but considering how Nintendo was promoting it, leading up to the game's release, especially at shows, you'd think it was like the main focus, because that's all they were showing us for a while.
Yeah, that really is.
That's not to say, now we spent a lot of time complaining about the game. That's not to say that the game isn't great. I mean, you said you liked it in your review.
Right.
And I like it too. If I were to review it, I would give it a like it as well, because there's a lot to love about it.
Yeah, and
it's very good in a lot of other ways.
Yeah, so we should probably touch on some of the things it does well.
Yeah.
So Ash, what do you think are some of the things this game does really well? Like, even compared to past Smash Brothers games, like, what are your favorite aspects of this game?
Well, in general, I think it does a pretty good job of being a portable Smash experience. Like, this isn't a game I see myself putting down once the Wii U version comes out, because I can't play the Wii U version on the go. So it's not something that I feel like I'll stop playing just because the Wii U version is, quote-unquote, the definitive version. But beyond that, I mean, I think it looks and sounds amazing. And I think Classic Mode is the best it's ever been, which I know is something that you might disagree with. But I really like this version of Classic Mode, just because you now, if you want to get all the trophies, you now have to beat Classic Mode 51 times, once for each character in the roster. And that's, of course, a long time. So to make up for that, they made Classic Mode a lot shorter. a lot more conducive to a portable experience because it's very easy to pick up and play, spend 5-10 minutes on the classic run and be done. And I like that each round you get rewards. See, there's a little slot machine roulette type thing where you can get custom parts, trophies, gold to spend on more trophies every round. So there's this constant feeling that you're always getting rewarded, no matter what you're doing. Even if you lose, you're still able to collect more rewards.
Right.
And that kind of, I mean, that's not just classic mode. That kind of extends to everything in the game, which is one of my favorite parts about the game. No matter what mode you're playing, you're getting rewards that you can then use in other modes. And it all kind of feeds into this kind of synergistic feedback loop where no matter what you play, you're getting things to use in other parts of the game where you then get more things to use in another part of the game. And it's a constant reward cycle. And that's one of my favorite things about this game. And Sakurai has always done that very well, but I think it's best done here.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't disagree about classic mode. I think it does work well. It is short, and like multiple paths. We can kind of choose what challenge you're taking on, or at least the opponents are taking on. And I like, I actually think the Kid Icarus style of difficulty selection works way better here than it does in Kid Icarus. Like, I love how it works here.
Other things that stand out to me about this game being really good is the soundtrack, for one.
Oh,
the
it's
soundtrack
great.
is phenomenal.
It's really good.
And it's really something that's only going to be expanded on in the Wii U version because it's going to have even more music, we can only assume. And it's going to have My Music, which lets you choose which songs you hear the most often in each stage. If there's one thing holding back the soundtrack in this game, it's the fact that each stage only gets 2 songs. Because there's so much more music than that in the actual game that you can use for Smash Run.
Right.
Why not have them available for the regular stages too?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
That is a great question. It is weird that there is more music available than you can actually, than is selectable. Now, what do you think about the stages in Smash 3DS? I mean, I guess that kind of ties into the whole music thing. That's how you get to most of the music.
Right.
For me, like most of the new ones, I've actually really ended up liking. Not all of them, but most of them I think are pretty good. And
me too.
And to be fair, like in Brawl, there's a lot of stages I don't like at all either. So So what is your overall impression of the stage selection here?
Well, I believe there are 34 stages total in Smash 3DS, and I think 9 are returning from Melee and Brawl. So that leaves us with 25 new stages,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. And honestly, I think the consistency of the stages is maybe the best it's ever been since Smash 64. There are maybe only 1 or 2 stages among the whole lot that I don't really like, and even then, if the reason I don't like those stages is because of a particularly annoying hazard, you can just play the Omega mode of that stage, and everything is taken care of. So honestly, I think the stages are really fun. They're very consistent. They look great. I don't really have a problem. I'm hard pressed to think of a stage I really don't like in this game. Whereas I can in Melee and Brawl, I can easily point to stages I don't like.
Wait, hold on. Dr. Wily's Castle.
Okay, well that's what I was going to say. That's the one, but that's one that's taken care of by playing on the Omega mode. Like Dr. Wily's Castle overall it's not as inspired as I hoped Mega Man stage would be. It just seems like they put a basic few platforms in front of Wily's Castle and called it a day.
Right.
That's a disappointment. But it's got some great music, and if you put the Omega mode on, you don't have to deal with the freaking yellow devil every 5 seconds in that damn stage. Which again, I like stage hazards, but that's one of the few that I'm like, okay, that's too much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, and I feel the same way about Magicant. Because I actually love Magicant. I love everything about it. I love how it looks. I love the little dimensional rift in the background that shows scenes from Earthbound. I love the platform layout, but what kind of ruins the stage for me is the flying man. Because all you have to do is one player, whoever touches a flying man first, basically turns them into a CPU teammate, and he is absurdly powerful. Like he just flies around.
They're vicious, the flying men,
right?
And they weren't even that good in Earthbound.
Yeah, they were. They died pretty easily.
Yeah.
And once you kill one, another one appears like 20 seconds later, and there's 5 of them you have to go through before they're gone for good, which lasts longer than most matches.
Yeah, and it does kind of make me wish there was a stage hazard toggle, because sometimes you do want to play with the regular version's platform layout, but without some of the particularly nasty stage hazards like the flying men. Because if you turn the Omega version on, and it's just one flat platform.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. That would be an awesome option. And if not for stage hazards, at least for those 2 characters, because they really do take away from the stage itself. But with that said, I do love I really do like the other stages in the game. I think like Spirit Train is a lot of fun. Plus, it has the amazing music from Spirit Track's Overworld.
Yeah, Spirit Train's a lot of fun. I really like Rainbow Road a lot. Prism Tower. The Pac Maze.
Pac Maze is cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're really pretty much the stages are without exception really great in this game.
Dude.
And I'm hoping that a lot of them, not a lot of them, but I'm hoping that a few more than we've seen are shared between both versions. I'd love to see Magic it in HD.
Oh, absolutely. Like to me, I think that's probably one of the best, if not the best looking arena.
Yeah.
I almost forget that it's on the 3DS when I'm playing it. It just looks so good, and it would be right at home in the Wii U version.
And just the fact that we even, like, can we just talk about the fact for a second that we got a new Earthbound stage, or Mother stage? I mean, that was the last thing I thought we'd get, because Mother has been a dead series for, since 2004 now, I think. Yeah. The fact that they really threw us Earthbound fans a bone is amazing.
Well, I mean, 2004, and for US gamers, 1994.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Or 5, whichever one it was, yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing, and I know that people were initially kind of groaning about the idea of shared stages between the two versions, but if Magicant is one of them, I'm totally fine with that.
Some other stages I really like are Mute City or the F-Zero one, which is freaking
so good.
Such a great looking stage, isn't it?
It's the best version of Mute City there's ever been.
It really is. I first off, I love the visual style. Like, it mixes, the 3D of Smash with the 2D of F-Zero, or the pseudo 3D, I should say.
The Mode 7,
exactly. Yeah. And I also love just how the platforms work, like how you have different cars that come in and go, and they function as different platforms. Just a great fun stage. And Kirby's Dream Land is another one I enjoy. I don't know if I would love it for serious matches, but it's fun to play on, and I just love the visual style of it, how it goes with that classic Game Boy look.
Yeah, and I like how the music changes from stage to stage. If you do get that song where it's like the Kirby's Dream Land medley,
right,
the music will change to fit the stage that you're currently in the game.
And that gets back to actually the whole music thing being great in this game. But I noticed too in the Super Mario 3D Land stage,
right, the
music is synced to the part of the stage you're in. Which is just a neat little touch that they didn't have to do, and it works perfectly.
Yeah, and I also like that even the stages with certain gimmicks in them don't actually end up feeling too gimmicky. Like the gimmicks overpower the stage. Like Golden Plains had the potential to be a terrible stage,
right,
with when getting 100 coins turns you gold. They could have made it way too powerful, but they didn't. And actually, it just makes you a little more powerful for a small amount of time, and then you go back to normal. And it ends up being a fun stage for that reason. The same thing with Pac Maze. You get 100 of the little Pac dots, and you get a little power pellet. But it's not a complete game changer. It's just a fun little thing to do while you're fighting that can maybe change the game a little, but it doesn't overpower it.
No, exactly. It's just a cool little thing that does change how you play too, because then you're then going after these bonuses instead of purely fighting, and it definitely just makes it feel a little bit different. So it is fun to mix it up every now and then.
Yeah.
And actually, yeah. Speaking of like things that don't overpower, maybe it's just me, but I found PictoChat 2 to be far less annoying than the first PictoChat. Like, I actually enjoy this one.
Oh, me too. I like it a lot more, and I never really wanted to play on the original PictoChat that often in Brawl, but I find myself playing PictoChat 2 and choosing it pretty often in this game.
Yeah, it's just a fun stage. I also do like the how they tied it in more, or they tied it more into other games as well. Like, you had the Pac-Man that appear, and the warp pipes. I think the warp pipes might be my favorite, where you actually can warp from warp pipe to warp pipe.
Yeah, I know, I love that. And honestly, if I have any problem with any of the stages, maybe other than Wily's Castle, it's mostly that the returning stages aren't, in my opinion, the best they could have picked. I mean, was anyone really raring to see Mushrooming Kingdom again?
It's true. It's weird, too, because it seems like the developers almost acknowledge that by cutting 1-2. It's only 1-1 now,
yeah.
So it's like half the stage basically is gone.
Yeah, which is strange to cut when you're going to bring back Mushrooming Kingdom at all, which no one ever really liked, or at least not that many people really liked.
Right.
And some of them are great, like Corneria will never get old. WarioWare is fine, Yoshi's Island is fine, but yeah, some of the stages they brought back, I mean, Brinstar again, it's just like, I
know.
But hey, it's overall, I think the stage selection is very good. And, based on the rumors that we've seen floating around online and some of the text dumps from the game that we've been seeing, it's looking like we might get some DLC stages in the future. So,
right.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What do you think about the Paper Mario stage?
I love it until the Bowser's Castle part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the Thousand Year Door part with the SS Flavion, and I love the Sticker Star part at the beginning. But yeah, Bowser's Castle it's too easy to die there. There are no platforms.
It's not that fun, and I think maybe it just seems this way because I don't like it. But I think that part lasts the longest too of all the parts of the.
It does, yeah.
So I don't know. I really wanted to like this stage because I love the look of it. I love Paper Mario, except for Sticker Star.
Yeah.
But for me, the first part of the stage is okay. I actually don't find it to be that fun. Second part of the stage is great, and then third part of the stage is kind of just as a damper on the whole thing.
Yeah, it's because it's one big pit, and the main platform that you can stand on is rotating, so it's not safe at all. And yeah, I agree. That's one of those where I would just play with the Omega version on, but then you don't get the SS Flavion, so it's kind of it's a little disappointing.
Now, I just got reminded of something talking about that stage, specifically in the second part when you're on the ship. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I don't know how you feel, but I'm curious to find out. In Brawl, I actually really like the swimming mechanic. I thought it was a lot of fun, especially in the Wind Waker stage, where like you get caught in the water. It just made it feel like even more. I don't know. It just felt more. It felt unique because if you got caught in the water, it changed. Like you wanted to get back as opposed to just dying.
Yeah, I agree. And I like the swimming mechanic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I kind of missed that from the second part of the stage when you're on the boat. Also, in the Animal Crossing stage, the Tortimer's Island. Like it just, I don't know. It feels so weird to me just falling through the water as if it doesn't exist.
I agree. It's not as it just makes the game feel a little less visceral. Whereas you could interact with more things like that in Brawl, where you'd hit the water and you'd swim, which is what you would think you would do. But in this one, you literally do fall through the water like it's not even there.
Yeah, I mean it's not a huge deal, particularly as it's not in that many. I mean it doesn't factor in that many stages. But yeah, it's just a little something I missed that I think a lot of people would disagree with me on. But I actually really like the mechanic, so.
Yeah, well, and that kind of does lead to the discussion that if I really hope Pirate Shit comes back for the Wii U version, because I'd love to see a Wind Waker HD stage. But if it comes back and you can't swim, then it really is going to change how the stage is played.
Yeah, it just wouldn't. I don't think it'd be as fun.
I agree.
Yeah, because it just functions as every other stage at that point then, where the swimming actually made it feel completely unique. And it actually, and it was a challenge to get back onto the ship, and I actually really liked that. It was fun.
Yeah, no, me too. That ended up being my favorite stage in Brawl for many of those reasons. So, I am a little sad that the swimming mechanic is gone, which is also strange because at the end of match bonuses, you do still get a bonus for swim time. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Right. But what swim time? You weren't swimming ever. You can't swim in this game.
Yeah, maybe just amount of time spent in water, which is a weird thing to track then, but yeah.
But I think one important thing to remember is that we're dissecting this game as hardcore, longtime Smash Brothers fans.
Right, exactly.
A lot of these things aren't going to be things that anyone cares about.
Nope.
And the overall, the overall impression of the game is that it's great. It's not amazing, and there are certainly things that are missing. But I can't put it down. I've already put in something like 55 hours into the game. And I've only had it since the review copies came out. So it's just it's a great game. And we're definitely picking it apart because we're fans, but in no way are we saying it's a bad game.
Yeah, the more familiar you are with something, the easier it is to pick apart.
Right.
But yeah, no, I like the game. It is fun. And when the multiplayer worked, it worked really well, and that was fun. Unfortunately, that didn't work consistently, and that is in and of itself a problem. But
yeah, I'm hoping that when the game comes out for everyone, and I can start playing with friends like here, that I don't have a lot of the same issues that we had, a few days ago playing together in your house, because it was almost unplayable.
Yeah, it actually was, and I think, as I mentioned in the review, I played other people as well.
Yeah.
And we actually had disconnects. We would actually get disconnected from local games.
Jeez.
Which I hadn't seen before. I don't think my house is doing anything particularly insane wireless-wise. So
yeah, I don't think so either. And it honestly felt like playing Mario Kart DS at a convention, which, this is a new hardware generation. It shouldn't feel like that.
Right, yeah.
But also when it works, though, it works like a dream.
And, and actually along those lines, I will say I was overall impressed with the online. In my experience, it's not perfect. But if you play one-on-one, and even take on some people in Japan, I found it actually ran surprisingly smooth. Not perfect, but the input delay was relatively mild, and it often ran perfectly smooth. Which, if you're coming from Brawl, is amazing. And it really is just a wonder in and of itself, because this game is so dependent on, unlike Mario Kart where you can fudge, you don't need everyone to have a perfect connection all the time in Mario Kart. The game can work around that. Whereas in Smash Brothers, you need every input to come through.
Because it's a fighting game, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So because it works, I mean, I was actually happy with how well it worked in my experience. 3 and 4 player matches can get dicey, but I think I'd probably be playing 1-on-1 mostly online anyway, saving 3 and 4 player matches for like local matches or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm in the same camp. I mostly only play 1-on-1 online too, and I've mostly had a good experience. Yeah, there have been some matches with pretty terrible lag with people in Japan, but like you said, I've also played with people in Japan where I am almost lag free. So it really does seem to depend on each particular connection.
Yeah, and we've been mentioning people in Japan, which is around the world. I also took people on in the U.S. and it also worked extremely, or it also worked quite well. Again, not perfect all the time, but yeah. So I mean, overall, it's light years beyond Brawl, and it makes me like really curious to play it on the Wii U version because I have a feeling it'll perform perhaps even better there. So
I sure hope so. I mean, Mario Kart 8's online can be a little dicey at times, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm confident that they'll figure it out.
Right. Yep. Well, do you have any final things, Ash, you want to mention, or anything you want to bring up that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, just this is something that mostly only people like me who are editors would even care about, but the trophy text in this game is fantastic. It's always been good, but it's particularly good in this game. So I'm a big trophy fan. I love collecting them and reading what they have to say about all of them. And when you guys get this game, make it an effort to get the Pokemon Trainer trophy, because that has maybe the best trophy text that a Smash Brothers trophy has ever had.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt. I mean, Nintendo's localization department is one of the best in the industry. Like, they have people there, who are truly passionate about Nintendo, such as, like, Audrey Drake from IGN. They know their Nintendo history, and yeah, it makes reading those descriptions a lot of fun. God, I've got so many to go on the US version, though. Jeez.
Yeah, I think I just passed 400 on the US version.
Oh, wow.
So I have like a 410 trophies, and I think they're around 700, so I'm getting there. But they definitely get harder and harder to get.
All right, well, I think that wraps up for us here. So yeah, I mean, overall, we both liked the game, and I know we spent more time, perhaps, critiquing it than we did praising it in this discussion. That's only because it really is much easier to talk about what you'd like to see the game do instead of what the game did do.
Exactly.
But yeah, the game is still good, but I think we're both, safe to say we're both super excited for the Wii U one now. With that said, though, we may be doing a Q&A coming up if you guys have any other questions we didn't address. So if you have a question about Smash Bros. 3DS or our opinions on something, post in the comments below, and we may answer it in an upcoming video. Alright, that aside, of course, if you can, like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. It's a good way to keep up to date on everything we post. And of course, keep an eye on GameXplain.com for more on Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS, such as our potentially upcoming Q&A, and other things gaming too. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.